Sarah Chen stood alone in the center of the giant room. The ceiling was so high she could barely see it. Crystal walls sparkled with soft light that hurt her eyes. Around her, hundreds of alien beings sat in floating chairs, all staring down at her like she was some kind of bug. The air felt wrong. Too clean. Too thin. Too cold. Sarah could breathe it, but it made her lungs work harder than they should. She knew this was done on purpose. The aliens wanted her to feel weak and small. Too bad for them. Sarah had grown up on Mars Colony 7, where the air recyclers broke down every other week. This fancy, filtered air was like a vacation. High Chancellor Vextai stood up from the biggest floating chair. He looked like a walking piece of glass with lights inside. When he spoke, his voice sounded like someone tapping on wine glasses. "Human," he said, making the words sound dirty. "You stand before the Galactic Imperial Council. Your species has been found guilty of crimes against galactic law." Sarah did not move. She kept her hands at her sides and her face blank. Let them talk first. That was rule number 1 in any negotiation. "Your people spread like a disease," another alien said. This one looked like a giant butterfly with too many eyes. "You take worlds that should be left alone. Dangerous worlds. Dead worlds. You make them live again. And that is not natural." A third alien, shaped like a walking tree, added his voice. "You live where nothing should live. On worlds with poison air. On worlds where the ground shakes every day. On worlds so cold that water turns to rock. This is madness." Sarah almost smiled at that. They called it madness. She called it Tuesday. High Chancellor Vextai raised one crystal hand. The room went quiet. "We have watched your species for 50 of your years. In that time, you have taken 47 worlds. Every single one of these worlds was marked as uninhabitable. Death worlds. Worlds where even machines break down from the harsh conditions." He turned to face the floating screens around the room. Images appeared. Sarah recognized some of them. New Shanghai on Kepler. 442 B, where acid rain fell every day at noon. The underwater cities of Atlantis Prime, built in crushing ocean depths. The sky cities of Zephyr, floating in a planet's upper atmosphere, while hurricanes raged below. "This is not normal expansion," Vextai continued. "Normal species take worlds that are safe. They make small changes to make them more comfortable. Your species does the opposite. You find the most dangerous places in the galaxy and call them home." An alien that looked like a walking octopus spoke up. "The radiation levels on some of your worlds would kill our people in minutes. The gravity on others would crush our bones. The temperatures would freeze our blood or boil it. Yet your children play in these places." Sarah finally spoke. Her voice was calm and quiet, but it carried clearly through the huge room. "Is there a question in there somewhere?" The aliens shifted uncomfortably. They were not used to such directness. High Chancellor Vextai's lights flickered brighter. "The question, human, is simple. Why do your people spread chaos wherever they go? Why do you wake sleeping worlds that should stay dead? Why do you refuse to live in peace like civilized beings?" "Because we can," Sarah said. The words hung in the air like a challenge. "That is not an answer," Vextai said, his voice growing sharper. "That is the response of a barbarian." Sarah shrugged. "Maybe. But it is still the truth." She looked around the room at all the alien faces staring at her. Some looked angry. Others looked afraid. All of them looked like they had never been in a real fight in their lives. "Let me ask you something," Sarah said. "When was the last time any of your people died from just being alive? When did someone from your worlds last get killed by weather? Or by an animal? Or by breathing the wrong air?" The room was silent. "I thought so," Sarah said. You have all forgotten what it means to fight for your life every day. You think danger is something that happens to other people. You think death is something you can avoid by being careful enough. She took a step forward. Several aliens flinched back. My people never forgot, she continued. Earth tried to kill us every day for 2 million years. Ice ages, volcanoes, earthquakes, floods, droughts, plagues, animals with claws and teeth and poison. We survived all of it. We got stronger because of it. High Chancellor Vextai raised his hand again. Enough. The Imperial Council has made its decision. Humanity is a threat to galactic peace and order. Your species will retreat to your home system. You will place yourselves under Imperial oversight. You will stop your mad expansion into dangerous space. He paused, letting his words sink in. If you refuse, the combined fleets of the Galactic Empire will remove your species from every world you have contaminated. You have 30 standard days to comply. 2. The room went completely silent. Every alien in the place was watching Sarah, waiting for her response. They expected her to be afraid. They expected her to beg. They expected her to ask for mercy. Instead, Sarah Chen did something that made every alien in the room feel a chill run through their bodies. She smiled. Not a polite diplomatic smile. A real smile that showed her teeth. To humans, it was just a smile. To every other species in the galaxy, it looked like the expression a predator made right before it attacked. 30 days, Sarah said, her smile growing wider. That is very kind of you. We will have an answer for you in one. She turned and walked toward the exit, her heavy footsteps echoing in the crystal chamber. The aliens watched her go, suddenly realizing that maybe they had made a terrible mistake. High Chancellor Vextai called after her. You do not understand, human. We have 40,000 warships. We have weapons that can crack planets. We have the power of 300 star systems. Sarah stopped at the doorway and looked back over her shoulder. Her smile was gone now, replaced by something much worse. Something that looked like hunger. I know, she said quietly. Thank you for telling us where they all are. Then she was gone, leaving behind a room full of aliens who suddenly wondered if declaring war on humanity had been a very bad idea. The underground room was carved from solid rock, 3 miles beneath the surface of Kepler 442b. Above them, an acid rainstorm was turning the sky green and eating through anything not protected by military-grade shields. The ground shook every few minutes from seismic activity. The air outside would burn unprotected lungs in under 10 seconds. To the 12 million humans who called this place home, it was a Tuesday afternoon. Sarah Chen sat at a metal table surrounded by 15 of the most dangerous people in human space. None of them looked like soldiers. None of them wore fancy uniforms. But every single one of them had spent their lives turning impossible situations into victory. General Marcus Torres scratched his beard with his mechanical left hand. He had lost the original arm when a mining rig exploded on Titan 15 years ago. Instead of retiring, he had learned to fight better with the replacement than he ever had with flesh and bone. Let me make sure I understand, he said, his voice rough from breathing recycled air for most of his adult life. The pretty crystal aliens want us to go back to Earth and stay there. If we do not, they will bring 40,000 ships to make us. That is correct, Sarah said. Dr. Yuki Tanaka looked up from her tablet. She was small and quiet. But she had personally designed the biotechnology that let humans live in environments that would kill every other known species in minutes. I have been studying the intelligence we gathered from their diplomatic ships, she said. Every species in their empire comes from what we would call garden worlds. Perfect weather, breathable air, comfortable gravity. No dangerous animals. Colonel Elena Vasquez laughed. She had been born on Europa, where the surface temperature was negative 200 degrees, and the slightest mistake meant instant death. So they are all soft. Worse than soft, Dr. Tanaka continued. They are adapted for safety. Their technology is built for controlled environments. Their weapons are designed for fighting other civilized species who follow rules. Admiral Jackson leaned forward. He was older than the others, with gray hair and scars on his hands from his early days as a ship engineer. What kind of rules? What? No damage to infrastructure. No harm to civilian populations. No fighting in extreme environments. No weapons that cause permanent environmental damage. Doctor, Tanaka read from her tablet. Their wars are more like very aggressive negotiations with some shooting. Sarah smiled. They have no idea what they just started. General Torres pulled up a holographic display showing human space. 47 star systems glowed in blue. Each one was marked with data that would terrify most species in the galaxy. Look at this, he said, pointing to the nearest system. New Texas. Gravity twice. Earth normal. Atmosphere. You can barely breathe. Ground temperature hits 60 degrees Celsius in the shade. We put 8 million people there, and they love it. He moved to another system. Frost time. Permanent ice age. Average temperature -40. Storms that can freeze blood in your veins. 4 million humans call it paradise. Hellworld Prime, Colonel Vasquez added, pointing to a red dot. Active volcanoes. Toxic gas vents. Radiation levels that would cook normal people. We built 17 cities there, and they are all growing. Sarah stood up and walked to the display. Every single one of our worlds is a fortress that the aliens cannot even visit, let alone attack. Our people are already living in conditions that would be considered military hardship by their standards. More than that, Doctor, Tanaka said quietly. I have been looking at their ship designs. Their vessels are built for comfort and efficiency in space. Climate-controlled. Artificial gravity. Filtered air. Soft lighting. She pulled up images of Imperial warships. They were beautiful. Sleek things that looked more like floating palaces than military vessels. Our ships are built to survive, she continued. Reinforced hulls. Redundant life support. Emergency systems for every possible disaster. We build them like this because space tries to kill us every second we are in it. Admiral Jackson nodded. Our cargo haulers have better armor than their battleships. There is something else, Dr. Tanaka said. She looked uncomfortable. I have been analyzing their species data. Every single one of them evolved from prey animals. Herd creatures. Animals that survived by running away from danger and working together for safety. The room went quiet. What about us? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Humans evolved from persistence hunters. Dr. Tanaka said, we are the only known apex predator species in the galaxy. We survived by being more dangerous than everything else on our world. General Torres whistled low. So they just declared war on a planet full of wolves. Worse, Dr. Tanaka said. Wolves that learned to use spaceships. Sarah walked back to her chair, but did not sit down. What are our advantages? Every human settlement is already a military base, Colonel Vasquez said. Our people are used to fighting for survival every day. Our children grow up thinking that deadly weather is normal. Our technology is overbuilt for extreme conditions, Admiral Jackson added. What we call basic equipment would be considered military grade by their standards. Our population is scattered across worlds they cannot safely visit, General Torres said. They would have to send ground forces to planets that would kill their soldiers just by being there. Doctor, Tanaka looked up from her tablet again. There is one more thing. Based on their psychology profiles, I believe they expect us to fight like they do. Organized. Civilized. Following rules. Sarah sat down and put her hands on the table. Then we will not fight like they expect. What do you mean? Admiral Jackson asked. They want a civilized war with their 40,000 ships against our 2,000 ships. Fleet against fleet. Clean and organized and polite. Sarah's smile was sharp. We will give them something else entirely. She looked around the table at the faces of the people who had spent their lives conquering impossible worlds. We will give them Earth. General Torres raised an eyebrow. Meaning? Meaning we will fight like humans, Sarah said. We will be unpredictable. We will turn their advantages into weaknesses. We will use their own infrastructure against them. We will make them afraid to leave their safe, comfortable ships. She stood up again and walked to the door. How long do we need to prepare? Colonel Vasquez asked. Sarah's grin was the kind that made predators look friendly. We have been preparing our whole lives, she said. Send the word to all our colonies. Tell them the hunt begins tomorrow. As the others filed out of the room, Dr. Tanaka stayed behind. Sarah, she said quietly. Are you sure about this? They do have 40,000 ships. Sarah looked back at the younger woman. Yuki, let me ask you something. How many ships do you think it would take to stop one human who really wanted to hurt you? Dr. Tanaka thought about it. She thought about the people she knew. Engineers who worked in hard vacuum without thinking twice. Miners who treated cave-ins like minor inconveniences. Children who played games in radiation zones. I see your point, she said. Good, Sarah said. Now imagine 8 billion of them, all working together, all angry that someone threatened their homes. She walked toward the door, then stopped. They wanted to see what humans do when we are cornered, she said. Tomorrow, they get their answer. The cargo ship Terra Firma looked like every other human freight hauler in space. Ugly. Practical. Built to survive things that would destroy prettier vessels. Its hull was scarred from asteroid impacts and radiation burns. Its engines were louder than they needed to be. Its life support systems were designed for emergencies that most species could not even imagine. Captain Elena Vasquez sat in the pilot's chair, watching Serenity Station grow larger on her screens. The station was beautiful in the way that all Imperial structures were beautiful. Smooth curves, gleaming metal, soft lights that did not hurt the eyes. It looked like art floating in space. It also looked fragile. Serenity Station, this is cargo vessel Terra Firma requesting emergency docking. Elena said into her comm system. We have engine problems and need immediate assistance. The response came back quickly. The voice sounded like singing bells. Terra Firma, you are a human vessel. By order of the Imperial Council, all human ships are to be detained. We understand, Elena said, keeping her voice calm. We are here to discuss surrender terms. Our government sent us to negotiate. There was a pause. Then, Terra Firma, you are cleared for docking bay 7. Maintain current speed and follow the guide lights. Be aware that station security will escort you upon arrival. Elena smiled. Copy that. Serenity Station. We appreciate your mercy. She cut the comm and looked back at her crew. 6 people sat at various stations around the bridge. To anyone watching, they looked like normal civilian freight workers. A little rough around the edges, maybe. The kind of people who spent their lives moving cargo between dangerous worlds. They were not freight workers. Marcus Torres had been special forces for 20 years before he lost his arm. Sarah Kim had been a marine assault specialist who knew 47 different ways to kill someone with her bare hands. David Chen was a former ship engineer who could turn any piece of technology into a weapon. The others had similar backgrounds. Remember, Elena said quietly, we are frightened civilians who just want to surrender. We are not soldiers. We are not threats. We are just scared people who got in over their heads. Got it, Marcus said, making his mechanical arm twitch like he was nervous. Scared and harmless. Sarah Kim checked her equipment one more time. She carried nothing that looked like a weapon. Her tools were all standard maintenance gear that any ship engineer might have. Of course, in the right hands, maintenance gear could be very effective for more than just fixing machines. The Terra Firma settled into the docking bay with a loud clang that made the station's hull vibrate. Imperial stations were not built to handle ships that landed like falling rocks. human vessels were. Through the viewports, they could see the security team waiting for them. 12 aliens in what looked like ceremonial armor. Beautiful, flowing designs that probably cost more than most human ships. The weapons they carried looked like works of art. Pretty? David commented. Think they actually work? We will find out, Elena said. The docking tube connected with a soft hiss. Elena stood up and walked to the airlock. Her crew followed, moving with the careful steps of people who were used to variable gravity and uncertain footing. To the waiting aliens, it probably looked clumsy. The airlock opened, and Elena stepped onto Serenity Station. The first thing she noticed was how quiet it was. Her boots made more noise than everything else combined. The second thing was how light she felt. The station's artificial gravity was set to about half Earth normal, comfortable for most species. For humans, it felt like walking on the moon. The security chief was a tall, thin being that looked like a cross between a bird and a snake. His armor glittered with lights that pulsed in complex patterns. His weapon was a long, elegant rod that hummed with energy. Humans, he said, his voice melodic. I am Security Chief Sylvan. You will come with us for processing. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force. Elena nodded and tried to look nervous. It was not hard. She was nervous, just not about the things the aliens expected. We understand, she said. We just want to end this peacefully. The security team formed up around the humans. It was a standard escort formation, designed to look impressive and keep prisoners from escaping. Elena noticed immediately that it was also designed for people who moved like normal aliens, slow, careful, predictable. They walked through corridors that looked like the inside of a jewelry box. Everything was smooth and clean and beautiful. The air smelled like flowers. The temperature was perfectly comfortable. It was the kind of place where you could forget that space was trying to kill you every second. Your station is beautiful, Elena said to Security Chief Sylvan. How do you keep it so clean? Sylvan seemed pleased by the compliment. Automated systems maintain optimal conditions at all times. Temperature, humidity, air quality, gravitational fields, all perfectly controlled. Elena nodded like she was impressed. She was impressed, just not in the way he thought. She was impressed by how easy it would be to disrupt those systems. They passed through several more corridors before reaching a large chamber filled with monitoring equipment. Screens showed data flows from across the station. Life support readings, power distribution, security cameras. Everything you would need to run a small city in space. Wait here, Sylvan said. The station commander will speak with you shortly. The security team took positions around the room. They looked relaxed, but alert. Professional. Elena estimated they could probably handle any normal threat quite well. She and her crew were not a normal threat. Marcus stepped closer to one of the screens and pretended to stumble. His mechanical hand brushed against a control panel. To the watching aliens, it looked like an accident. Sorry, he said quickly, still getting used to the low gravity. Be more careful, Sylvan warned. Sarah Kim was examining the air circulation system. She moved like someone who was curious about alien technology. In reality, she was mapping vulnerabilities. David Chen had found the power distribution controls. He was staying well away from them, but Elena could see him memorizing the layout. The station commander arrived 10 minutes later. She was a delicate creature that looked like she was made of spun glass and starlight. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I am Commander Veltar, she said. You claim to represent your species in surrender negotiations? Elena nodded. Yes, ma'am. Our government sent us to discuss terms. We know we cannot fight the Imperial fleet. We just want to protect our people. Commander Veltar seemed satisfied with this response. Wise. Your species has made poor choices, but it is not too late to correct them. You will remain here, while we contact the Imperial Council. Of course, Elena said. We are grateful for your mercy. Commander Veltar left, taking half the security team with her. The remaining guards settled in to watch the humans. That was when things went wrong for the aliens. It started when Marcus asked to use the bathroom, a reasonable request. One guard escorted him out of the room. They were gone for exactly 3 minutes. When Marcus came back, the guard looked confused. Sarah Kim complained that the air was too thin and asked if there was a way to adjust it. Another guard left to check with the environmental systems. He came back 15 minutes later, looking even more confused than the first one. David Chen asked for some water and was escorted to the nearest food dispenser. When they returned, the lights in the room flickered briefly. To the aliens, these all seemed like normal requests from nervous prisoners. They had no way to know that Marcus had planted listening devices throughout the station's communication system, or that Sarah had introduced a slow-acting virus into the air filtration controls, or that David had installed a small device that would let them access the station's power grid remotely. How long before the commander returns? Elena asked innocently. Soon, Sylvan replied. The Imperial Council is eager to hear of your surrender. Elena smiled. I am sure they are. She was counting seconds in her head. Marcus had said 40 minutes for his devices to map the station's complete communication system. Sarah needed an hour for her virus to spread through the environmental controls. David's power tap would be ready in 30 minutes. They had been on the station for 28 minutes. Security Chief Sylvan, Elena said. Can I ask you something? What? Has your species ever been in a real war? Not a polite disagreement between civilized people? A real war, where everything is trying to kill you? Sylvan looked puzzled. Wars are conducted according to civilized rules. There are protocols, standards, limits on acceptable behavior. Elena nodded slowly. That is what I thought. She looked at her crew. Marcus was flexing his mechanical hand. Sarah was breathing slowly and deeply, the way someone did before intense physical activity. David was checking his watch. The thing about humans, Elena said conversationally, is that we never learned those rules. Sylvan was starting to look nervous. What do you mean? Elena's smile changed. It went from nervous and grateful to something that made the aliens take involuntary steps backward. I mean, she said, that this is not a surrender negotiation. This is a demonstration. That was when the lights went out, the air circulation stopped, and the gravity failed. And that was when Security Chief Sylvan learned that humans could fight very well in the dark. High Chancellor Vextai stood in the emergency session chamber, his crystal form flickering with angry red light. Around him, representatives from 300 species waited for answers that he did not have. Read the report again, he said to his aide. The aide, a nervous creature that looked like a walking flower, cleared his throat. Day 21 of the human conflict. Serenity Station has gone dark. Commander Veltar's last transmission reported that human prisoners had somehow taken control of station operations. Security forces report that the humans moved in zero gravity like they were born to it. They fought in complete darkness without any difficulty. They turned the station's own environmental systems into weapons. Vextai's lights flickered brighter. Casualties? None, Chancellor. The humans somehow disabled our forces without killing anyone. They left a message on the station's main screen. The aide paused. It said, "Thank you for the tour. Send our regards to the Imperial Council." A representative from the bird-like Aethon species spoke up. How is this possible? Humans are a primitive species. They should not be able to overcome our advanced technology. The aide consulted his tablet again. The station's computer logs show that they never actually used any technology we do not understand. They simply used our own systems in ways we never considered. They turned environmental controls into weapons. They used maintenance tunnels for movement. They exploited weaknesses in our security protocols that we did not know existed. What about our fleets? asked another representative. Surely our ships can handle human vessels in direct combat. Admiral Kethran stepped forward. He was from a warrior species that had joined the Empire 3 centuries ago. Even he looked troubled. That is the problem, he said. They are not engaging in direct combat. Reports are coming in from across the border. Human ships are appearing in our systems, conducting what they call reconnaissance missions. Then, disappearing before our fleets can respond. He activated a holographic display showing the Imperial border. Red dots marked recent human activity. Yesterday, a single human vessel appeared at Harmony Prime, one of our most heavily defended systems. It scanned our defense platforms, transmitted a polite greeting, then jumped away. Our entire fleet responded, but the ship was gone before we could intercept. One ship, Vextai said slowly. Against an entire system defense fleet. Yes, Chancellor. And it was not a military vessel. According to the scans, it was a civilian exploration ship. The kind humans use to survey dangerous worlds. A representative from the aquatic Nereid species raised a tentacled hand. What makes these ships so difficult to catch? Admiral Kethran looked uncomfortable. They are fast. Faster than our vessels. But more than that, they seem to expect everything to go wrong. Their ships have backup systems for their backup systems. They carry spare parts for equipment we did not know could break. They can operate in conditions that would disable our vessels. Give me an example, Vextai demanded. 3 days ago, we cornered a human cargo ship near the Spiral Nebula. The ship fled into an area with dangerous gravitational anomalies and high radiation levels. Our ships had to turn back when our navigation systems began failing. The human ship continued through the hazard zone and escaped on the other side. The chamber erupted in confused voices. Several representatives were speaking at once. How can they navigate through conditions that defeat our computers? What kind of creatures can survive radiation that damages our ships? Are they using some kind of advanced technology we do not understand? Admiral Kethran waited for silence, then continued. Our intelligence division has been studying captured human equipment. Their technology is not more advanced than ours. In many ways, it is more primitive, but it is built differently. He called up images of human ships and equipment. Look at this cargo vessel. The hull is 3 times thicker than it needs to be. The life support systems are designed to operate even if 2/3 of the ship is destroyed. The engine room has manual controls for every automated system. Dr. Yelesta, the Empire's chief xenobiologist, spoke from her floating platform. I have been studying the biological data we have on humans. I believe I understand what we are facing. All eyes turned to her. Dr. Yelesta was respected throughout the Empire for her knowledge of alien species. Every species in our Empire evolved on what humans would call garden worlds, she began. Stable climates, predictable weather, ecosystems with clear food chains and established territories. We all developed intelligence as a way to avoid danger and maintain comfortable lives. She paused and called up images of Earth. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill them constantly. Ice ages that lasted thousands of years. Volcanic eruptions that changed the climate overnight. Earthquakes that destroyed entire continents. Weather systems that could kill anything caught in the open. The images showed Earth's violent geological history. Massive storms, volcanic explosions, asteroid impacts. But that is not the worst part, Dr. Yelesta continued. Earth also had predators, large, intelligent carnivores that hunted in packs. Humans were not the strongest or the fastest species on their world. They survived by being more persistent and more adaptable than anything else. She brought up an image of early humans hunting. They would chase prey animals for days without stopping. They would track wounded animals across hundreds of miles. They would follow herds through blizzards and across deserts. They never gave up. The chamber was silent now. Humans are the only known sapient species that evolved as apex predators. Doctor, Yelesta said quietly. Every other intelligent species in the galaxy developed as prey animals that learned to cooperate for safety. Humans learned to cooperate for hunting. High Chancellor Vex Tai felt a chill run through his crystal structure. What does this mean for our current situation? It means, Dr. Yelesta said, that we have declared war on a species that spent 2 million years learning to survive in impossible conditions and never stopped chasing their prey. Admiral Kethron cleared his throat. There is more. Our intelligence reports suggest that human settlements are not what we initially believed. Explain. We thought they were civilian colonies protected by small military forces. We were wrong. Every human settlement is already a fortress, manned by what are essentially soldiers. Their civilians are people who have spent their entire lives fighting their environment just to stay alive. He brought up scan data from human worlds. Look at this colony on Hellworld Prime. The surface temperature reaches 80 degrees Celsius. The atmosphere is filled with sulfur compounds. There are active volcanoes every few hundred kilometers. 8 million humans live there, and they have been expanding their cities toward the most dangerous areas. Why would they do that? Someone asked. Because, Admiral Kethran said grimly, they think it is fun. High Chancellor Vex Tai was beginning to understand the magnitude of their mistake. What are you telling me, Admiral? That we cannot defeat them? I am telling you that we are fighting an enemy we do not understand. They do not follow our rules because they never learned our rules. They do not fear our weapons because they live with worse dangers every day. They do not respect our superior numbers because they are used to fighting against impossible odds. Dr. Yelesta added, and they are not trying to conquer us. They are trying to survive. In human psychology, there is no difference between a threat to their survival and a threat to their children. They will fight us the way they would fight a natural disaster, which means they will not stop until the threat is eliminated completely, or until they are all dead. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. High Chancellor Vex Tai turned to his aide. How many more days until the deadline expires? 9 days, Chancellor. Send a message to Ambassador Chen. Tell her we wish to discuss terms. What terms, Chancellor? Vex Tai's lights dimmed to their lowest setting. Whatever terms she wants. Sarah Chen walked back into the Imperial Council chamber exactly 30 days after she had left it. The room looked different now. The crystal walls had stress fractures. The perfect lighting flickered occasionally. Several alien representatives wore what looked like environmental suits, as if they were afraid the air itself might be dangerous. She walked to the same spot where she had stood a month ago. Her footsteps echoed in the chamber, like hammer blows. High Chancellor Vex Tai rose from his floating chair. His crystal form was noticeably dimmer than before, and his voice had lost its musical quality. Ambassador Chen, he said, we requested this meeting to discuss ceasefire terms. Sarah nodded. I am listening. Our fleets report that human vessels have been conducting operations throughout Imperial space. Your people have demonstrated that they can operate in environments we cannot match. They have shown abilities we did not expect. You mean we showed you that we are not harmless, Sarah said. Yes. The word came out like it hurt him. We may have underestimated your species' capabilities. Sarah almost smiled at that. Underestimated was one way to put it. What terms do you propose? Vex Tai asked. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Around the chamber, hundreds of alien representatives waited for her answer. She could see fear in their posture. Not the polite concern of diplomats, but the real fear of creatures who had suddenly realized they were not at the top of the food chain. Before I answer, Sarah said, let me tell you what we learned about you. The aliens shifted uncomfortably. Your species have built something amazing, she continued. 300 different worlds, working together, in peace. No wars. No starvation. No diseases. No natural disasters. You have eliminated almost every source of suffering in your space. Several representatives looked confused. This did not sound like the beginning of a threat. You have created the most successful civilization in galactic history. Your people live longer, healthier, happier lives than any species that came before you. You have turned the galaxy into a safe place where children can grow up without fear. High Chancellor Vex Tai's lights flickered uncertainly. We do not understand. If you recognize our achievements, why do you continue to threaten us? Sarah's expression grew serious. Because you cannot keep it. The chamber erupted in confused voices. Several aliens were speaking at once. What do you mean? Our civilization has lasted for millennia. We have eliminated war and conflict. Sarah waited for quiet, then continued. You have eliminated war and conflict between yourselves, but you have not eliminated the universe. She walked closer to the center of the chamber. Space is still trying to kill you every second. Black holes still exist. Supernovas still happen. Asteroids still fall. Gamma-ray bursts still sterilize worlds without warning. And somewhere out there, in the dark, between stars, things exist that make humans look friendly. Dr. Yilesta spoke up from her floating platform. We have technology to deal with natural disasters. We have early warning systems. We have contingency plans. For the disasters you know about. Sarah said. What happens when something new shows up? Something you never planned for? Something your beautiful technology cannot handle? The chamber was silent. 50 years ago, you found us. Sarah continued. A species that lives on worlds you call uninhabitable. A species that builds cities in places where your machines break down. A species that treats radiation storms like weather. She looked around the room at all the alien faces. We are not your enemies, she said quietly. We are your early warning system. High Chancellor Vex Tai leaned forward. Explain. Every species in your empire evolved on safe worlds. You learn to build civilizations by avoiding danger. You create peace by controlling your environment and eliminating threats. Sarah paused. We learn to build civilizations by adapting to danger. We create peace by becoming stronger than the things that want to kill us. We have spent 2 million years learning to survive in conditions that would end your civilization overnight. She walked to the holographic display in the center of the room and activated it. This is what we propose, she said. The display showed the galaxy, with human and imperial space clearly marked. Humans will accept limits on our expansion. We will not colonize worlds that your species can safely inhabit. We will not interfere with imperial trade or politics. Several aliens looked relieved. In exchange, Sarah continued, humans will serve as your crisis response force. When something happens that your technology cannot handle, you call us. When you find worlds that are too dangerous for your people to visit, we will go there for you. When threats appear that your peaceful methods cannot resolve, we will resolve them. The implications began to sink in around the chamber. You want us to hire you as soldiers, one representative said. No, Sarah replied. We want you to hire us as humans. There is a difference. High Chancellor Vex Tai was quiet for a long time. What happens when these threats you speak of do not appear? What if the galaxy remains peaceful? Sarah's smile returned. It was warmer this time, but still showed her teeth. Then you will have a few billion humans living on the most dangerous worlds in known space, getting bored and looking for something interesting to do. That sounds like a threat. Chancellor, Sarah said gently, have you ever watched human children play? No. They chase each other through dangerous terrain. They compete to see who can survive the harshest conditions. They invent games that would kill most adult aliens. She paused. And they do it because they think it is fun. The chamber was dead silent. Now imagine what happens when those children grow up and discover that there are entire unexplored regions of the galaxy filled with unknown dangers. High Chancellor Vex Tai's lights dimmed. You are saying that peace will not contain your species. I am saying that peace will aim our species, Sarah corrected. The question is whether you want us aimed at the unknown dangers in the galaxy, or at the boredom of staying in one place. Dr. Yilesta spoke up. And if we refuse this arrangement? Sarah shrugged. Then humans will continue to expand at our own pace, in our own way. Your species will remain safely on your garden worlds, and we will inhabit the dangerous places you cannot reach. We will probably never see each other again. Until something threatens your garden worlds that you cannot handle, she added quietly. And then, Sarah's expression grew very serious. Then you will discover that we were the friendly monsters. The chamber was silent for a full minute. Finally, High Chancellor Vextai spoke. What guarantee do we have that humans will honor this agreement? The same guarantee we have that you will honor it, Sarah said. Mutual benefit. You need someone who can go places you cannot go and do things you cannot do. We need someone to tell us where the interesting problems are. She walked back toward the exit. There is one more thing, she said, stopping at the doorway. This agreement includes protection for all imperial worlds and peoples. If anything threatens your civilization, humans will treat it as a threat to our friends. Why would you protect us? Vextai asked. Sarah looked back over her shoulder. Her smile was the same one she had worn 30 days ago. But now, it looked different. Now, it looked like a promise instead of a threat. Because, she said, we finally found people worth protecting. The chamber remained silent until long after she was gone. 2 hours later, High Chancellor Vextai signed the Terra Accords, establishing humanity as the Galactic Empire's crisis response specialists. The signing ceremony was broadcast across Imperial space. Most species celebrated the end of the crisis. A few of the smarter ones began preparing for whatever would happen when humans got bored. In the human colonies, children born after the Accords would grow up learning about their new galactic neighbors with the same enthusiasm their parents had shown for exploring active volcanoes. But they would also grow up knowing that somewhere out there, in the dark between stars, were problems that even humans might find challenging. And they could hardly wait to meet them.